Okay, guys, once again, I welcome you to my lesson for today, where we'll be looking at a chapter called Analytical Geometry. So, obviously, you have noticed the information that I sent through in the group. So, without any waste of time, guys, what I'm going to be doing is just to guide you in terms of how I would approach this type of question. So, my aim for today's lesson is to try and cover almost everything that I send in the group. But otherwise, if I'm not able to, then I'll just try to find a way to accommodate those of you who make use of the information that I send in the group to practice. So, without any waste of time, I'm just going to quickly read through the given statement, and then from there, try to do a bit of an interpretation, and most importantly, show you on how to answer questions in relation to the diagram. So, just in case, if you want to read what I'll be reading, you can just somewhere on your button, just click on a button which says back. Then from there, you should be able to see the image that I'm using. So obviously I've tried to redraw that diagram over there so that you know which question paper we'll be dealing with. And most importantly, guys, masterclass means all grade 10s, 11 and 12s are invited to the lesson. Also, those of you who are upgrading your mathematics, you are also welcome to join the lesson. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you attend until the end, because as I always say, it's not only about me giving you the answers or showing you on how to answer the questions, but I try by all means to show you step by step, and most importantly, to dish out all the information that I know examiners will try to use in order to trick you guys. So I'm quickly going to read through the given statement. So I think, let me just remove, but anyway, it's fine. I can just leave it there so that I make reference to that sketch over there. So question number 2, guys, at all times, you are advised to start each question on a new page. So just make sure that when you are in exam, when you start a new question, for example, question 2 in this case, do not proceed just one line after your last question. Just make sure to start on a new page. It makes our lives easy when we are there at a marking center to just easily mark your paper. So good people, question 2 reads as follows. In the diagram below, remember, this is the diagram that they are referring to. P, which has got the coordinates of 1 and 0. Let's have a look at our P. There is our P, and it makes perfect sense because, remember guys, this shape is drawn on a Cartesian plane. What is a Cartesian plane? A Cartesian plane, it's two horizontal and a vertical line which has got two axes. The horizontal is the x-axis, the vertical is the y-axis, and most importantly, a Cartesian plane has got what we call the origin. So at the origin, that's where that line and this line at 0. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So that means when you have a drawing or otherwise a diagram or whatever shape drawn on a Cartesian plane, ask yourself, where is my first quadrant? Where is my second quadrant? Where is my third and my fourth quadrant? So that means this is the first quadrant on your Cartesian plane. This is the second, this is the third, and this is the fourth. So most of the information is based on your first and your fourth quadrant. So that means this side, it's not really that much important. As a result, you are only expecting questions on this side of the Cartesian plane, where we know from the origin in that direction, the y values are positive. From the origin in that direction, the x values are positive. from the origin in that direction, the y values are negative. So also, as you interpret the information in relation to the given diagram, make sure that you've got your x positive value there and you've got your 0 there, because that point P, it lies along the x-axis. Remember, guys, I've said P represents a point and these are the coordinates. So that means point P is actually a point over there. Very, very much important, guys. So now let's proceed with the information given on the statement. So remember, they said in the diagram below, P has got those coordinates, then Q has got the coordinates 6 and 3. So let's see. There is our Q, it's a point, and these are the coordinates. So remember, guys, we've got a point which is represented by a letter. Then we've got the coordinates where we've got the X and the Y. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that at all times, when they say point, then you know they are referring to a letter, which could be any letter from A all the way up to Z. So in this case, they chose to use 3 letters with given coordinates. This is the first letter. We've discussed that part. Now we are on this letter where they say it's point Q with the coordinates 6 and 3. So already you notice that this is the point that they are talking about. And most importantly, that coordinate is correct because we expected a positive x value and a positive y value. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's proceed. So, and R, which has got the coordinates of 9 and negative 2. So these are the vertices of a triangle such that PQ is equals to QR and PQ is perpendicular to QR. So let's see. Part of the information that I've read over there is that we've got the point called point R, which is that point over there. And point R, it has got the coordinates of X, which is positive 9, Y is negative 2. And it makes sense because that point lies in the fourth quadrant where we know that we've got positive X values and negative Y values. Very, very much important, ladies. And most importantly, guys, most importantly, they say these are the vertices. Remember, the word vertices simply refers to a corner. So that means these 3 corners form a triangle. So you can see this is a triangle. And most importantly, because of that, it means this is a right-angled triangle. What does it mean when it's a right-angled triangle? It simply means where necessary, ladies and gentlemen, you are allowed to use the trigonometric functions. What are the trigonometric ratios? Not functions, but ratios. What are the trigonometric ratios? Guys, we have only 3 trigonometric ratios, namely, let me just start with sine. It could be sine angle. We also have cos angle. We also have tan angle. Good people, 1, 2, 3 are called trigonometric ratios, and you can only use them if you have a right-angled triangle. What is a right-angled triangle? It's a triangle where one interior angle is 90 degrees. Otherwise, if they don't say that that point is 90 degrees, then this is what they are going to do to show that this is a right-angled triangle. So we know we've got what we call the reciprocals of sine. It's what we call cosec. For cos is sec, and then for tan is cot. Those are what we call the reciprocals of what? The reciprocals of the trigonometric ratios. What are the trigonometric ratios? Sine, cos, and tan. Good people, I hope that makes sense. So now let's proceed. Remember, I said 1, 2, 3 are the vertices such that PQ is equals to QR. Let's see. Where is PQ? There is PQ. So PQ, guys, is equals to QR based on the information that we are given. Just so that we do not forget, let's just make maybe on the right there to say, I hope you'll be able to see what I want to write, guys. Maybe let me just write it there. Let's say PQ is equals to QR. Something that I want you guys to be aware of, and I think I've taught this information sometime in one of my previous lessons where I was teaching you guys about, the representation of letters, numbers, and everything in relation to this chapter. Guys, always, when they write in capital letters, just like they say PQ, it's equals to QR. Capital letters refers to the length, guys. So that means because it's written in capital letters, they are therefore referring to the length of PQ. So that means the length of PAQ is equal to the length of QR. Where is QR? There is QR. So that means if that length is 4, this is also 4. If that length is square root of 90, this is also square root of 90. Obviously, if you were asked to determine that, you can therefore either use the trig ratios or otherwise theorem of Pythagoras. In addition to this, let me say only, listen to this, in capital letters, only when you are dealing with a right angled triangle, that's when you can use these trig ratios. And in addition to that, you can also use the theorem of Pythagoras, which says r squared is equals to x squared plus y squared. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen, that you are aware of this information. And by the way, remember, guys, we have done a lesson on trigonometry, of which is posted on my YouTube channel. I've started from the beginning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you fully understand when I say from the beginning. So just make sure that in case if you wish to go through this chapter, you catch up on those lessons, because it's not nice, guys, to go through one and the same thing over and over again, especially responding to requests via inbox, because I prepare for these lessons, guys. It takes me time to prepare for this lesson, and I make sure that once I've prepared for a lesson, I make the quality to be top notch. So just rest assured that when you catch up, you will find the same quality as you would expect. So this lesson also, it's being recorded. So I'll just make sure that I post it on my website, so that in case if you missed the lesson, or otherwise if you joined late, you can catch up. So just make sure that if you joined late, you do not ask questions which we have already included in our discussion. So guys, let's now proceed. T, it's a point on PQ. But before I even read that part of the statement, I notice there's somewhere they say PQ is perpendicular to QR. And they are right. PQ is perpendicular to QR. Why? Because of that sign which shows it's a 90-degree angle. So I hope even if they did not tell us that PQ is perpendicular to that, we would have noticed because of that drawing over there. So let me just quickly explain something in relation to perpendicular lines. Remember, guys, from our last lesson, we said for perpendicular lines, it means the gradient of that line and the gradient of that line, when multiplied together, they give us -1. So that means from these 2 points, if we find the gradient using the gradient formula, then we say this is gradient 1, or which we can call the gradient of PQ. When we multiply it with the gradient of that line, which we could call it the gradient of a QR or RQ, it must be equals to 1. So this thing on its own is a formula. It's not like I had to throw bones for me to be able to know that the product of the two gradients is equals to 1. So that on its own, it's a formula. That is the reason why I had to send to you important tools for today's lesson. So ladies and gentlemen, let's now continue. Remember guys, I'm only doing this because I want all of us to be on the same page as we answer the questions. But if I was in exam and I was writing this, I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, this is question 2, but by now I would be on question number 5. So I'm taking this long so that I'm pretty much sure that to some of you guys, up to this point, you have learned some new. So I make sure that at all times in my lessons, ladies and gentlemen, you know very well that I confidently say a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. The reason to that is because I want to make sure that in each and every video that you watch on my YouTube channel, you learn some new. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's proceed with the given information. So they say T. The moment they say T, you know they're talking about a point. So where's T, guys? There is T. Okay, so now I know exactly what they're talking about. What about point T, guys? So T is a point on PQ. Let me check. T is a point on PQ. Okay, no, that's correct. So let me just make a point over there. So that is true. Let's see. So T is a point on PQ such that T is the midpoint of PQ. Oh, now it makes sense. Now it makes perfect sense. So that means this point is actually right in the middle of P and Q. So the moment it is stated that T is actually the midpoint of these 2 points, then I'm already thinking about the midpoint formula. So guys, let's continue. S is the point of intersection of RQ and the x-axis. Before I even go far, I have to first look at where that S is. Okay, so there is S, guys. That S is that point over there, which is the intersection. Remember, at the intersection, that's where the two whatever join. So the whatever in this case is that line of QR and the X axis. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's proceed. So V, where is V, guys? I don't like talking about things of which I don't know exactly where they are. So there is P. Okay, what about P? Examiner is saying V is a point on the x-axis, okay, such that in triangle QSV, angle S, very, very much important, QSV, angle S is equals to 121 degrees. I want to teach you guys on how to read these things. So guys, if something is written like this, when you call it out, you must start by saying in triangle. Sometimes they can say in triangle Q, SV, angle whatever is equals to that degree. So guys, when you read your mathematics statement, this thing is what we call triangle QSV while considering angle formed at point S. So that means in triangle QSV. So you must draw that triangle. Let's see. There is Q and S is somewhere there. Then let's see. V is somewhere there. So that means possibly this is the triangle, and this is the angle. This is Q, this is S, V. It's a point somewhere there. So this is the angle that they are talking about. So remember, guys, I just wanted to teach you on how to read the given mathematical statement. So let's see. They are saying that angle is equals to 21. And again, they say in triangle QPS, angle P is equals to theta. So this is triangle QPS while considering angle P. So if you had to draw that, you've got Q somewhere there, you've got P somewhere there along the same line, you've got S. Then this is the triangle that they are talking about. There is P, there is Q, there is S. But now the angle that they are talking about is that angle at point P. Guys, I've tried to read the given statement in relation to that drawing over there, just so that you are able to see on how examiner drew that diagram. So you need to be able to interpret the given diagram, and again, in that way, you'll be able to confidently approach the questions. So guys, before I even start with our very first question, is there someone who's got a question in relation to what I've explained so far, or are you all happy with what I've explained, and does it make sense to everyone? Remember, unmute your mic, make your comment, mute your mic.
Sense, sir.
Does make sense, sir.
That makes sense, sir.
Okay, 100%. So let me just quickly try to make some adjustments there so that I've got enough space to write over there. So I hope you are clearly able to see. So let's now start with our very first question. So the first question says, determine the following. Most importantly, guys, remember, this is question 2 on a new page. Very, very much important, guys. So we've got question 2.1 and sub-questions. So just make sure that you follow the numbering system used in the question paper. Massively important, guys. So this is question 2.1, and the first question is question 2.1.1. This is very, very much important, guys, because if you do not correctly use the numbering system used in the question paper, you and I are going to have a big problem. So guys, the first question says, determine the length of PQ. Leave your answer in such form. Let me just bring that drawing over there so that you are able to see what they are talking about. So the length of PQ. Where is PQ? So there is P, there is Q. So they want the length, or otherwise, you remember, guys, on our last lesson I said the length is the same thing as the distance. So that means they did not want to say the distance because they thought it would be obvious that you might straight away use the distance formula. So they tried to be tricky by saying the length, but you know very well that the length and the distance is one and the same thing. So that means they want you to determine the length from P and Q. So there's an instruction to that. They said leave your answer in SAT form. So if you do not know what is a SAT, then you are in trouble. You are in a big trouble. So always when you talk about SATs, guys, we talk about the square roots. So if your answer is square root of 3, do not rewrite it in a form of a decimal. Leave it as square root of whatever. So that is what is meant by a SAT form. Very, very much important, guys. So remember, a distance or a length It's represented by either millimeters, centimeters, meters, or kilometers. So in case if they did not specify, then just say units. So if we find our length to be square root of 100, then we'll just say square root of 100 units. I hope it makes sense. So can you see, guys, this is the distance formula. So that means we can easily use that formula over there. So these formulas are given in the answer sheet, but I don't think for grade 10, grade 11 learners, and again for grade 12s on your mid-year exam, I'm just not sure if they give you the formula sheet. But if they do not, it means you need to know those formulas by heart. Or otherwise, on your final exam, you should be given the formula sheet. So let's see. The distance formula, D, is equals to square root of into x2 minus x1, you close, squared, plus y2 minus y1, close, squared. So remember, guys, it's very much important that at all times you write down the coordinates involved. So in this case, they're talking about P. We know P, the coordinates is that. And again, they talk about Q. Q is 6 and 3. And I said, between these two coordinates, you need to decide which ones are your x2, y2, which ones are your y1, y2. So between 1 and 2, which one comes first? 1 comes first, 2 comes second. Between P and Q, which one comes first? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q. So P comes first, then Q comes second, which means these are going to be my x2, y2, x1, y1. I hope that makes perfect sense in terms of you choosing which one to use as your first and your second values. And make sure to remain constant with other letters. So let's see. What is our x2? Our x2 is 6 minus x1 is 1, u squared, plus what is our y2? Is 3. What is our y1? It's 0 squared. So just make sure, guys, that everything that I do is correct over there. So as I punch on a calculator, also punch on your calculator. As I substitute, in case if you're writing, just make sure that you also substitute, so that in case if I got something incorrectly, you are able to notice and immediately correct me. So let's see. You can just punch whatever that is inside because you want your answer to be in a form of a SAT. So let's punch all of that on a calculator. So in brackets, you've got 6 minus 1 close squared plus into 3 minus 0 squared, then we've got 34. So that means when you punch the whole of that inside, you have 34. But because they said leave your answer in a form of a SAT, you were going to leave it as 34. But otherwise, if they wanted it in a decimal, you were just going to convert that to decimal, and I think it gives you something like 5.83 what is it, units. So that means you've got square root of 34 units. But in this case, the question said in SAT form. So you just leave it as it is. And that's how you score yourself 2 marks. Guys, did that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Sense.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in that case, remember, this question was allocated 2 marks. So you are most likely to score a mark for the correct substitution. Then from there, you are most likely to get your mark for that question, which is allocated 2 marks. I mean, for the final answer, which is in a form of a SAT. So let me check the next question. So let me see. So the next question says, determine the gradient of PQ. Let's see. the gradient of PQ. Let me just bring all of that. Are you guys able to notice where is PQ? There is P, there is Q. Because they said the gradient, let me pull out the gradient formula. But most importantly, guys, is there someone who wants to guess in terms of what is the distance or the length of QR? This is just a question from my side, not on the question paper, and I'm asking. So remember, guys, in case if you want to answer the question, just make sure that you unmute your mic, you mention your name, you make your comment, you mute your mic. For the second time, no need to mention your name. So what is the length of QR?
Root 34, sir.
Why are you saying that is the length of QR?
Because PQ and PR are equal, sir.
Did you mention your name, Madam Speaker?
Oh, so say this is Basil.
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 Oh, okay. All right. Thanks very much, Basil. That's 100%. So that means the length of PQ is equal to square root of 34. And again, the length of QR is equal to 34 because in the statement, they said both of these are equal. So let's now proceed to the next part of our calculation. So I assume at this point in time, you are aware that what they want us to calculate is the gradient. Most importantly, all you need to do is to pull out the gradient formula. And you know very well in terms of how to substitute. So remember, guys, most importantly, make sure that you are on question 2.1. So let's see, what is the gradient? So gradient is small letter m. Capital letter M is for midpoint. So just notice the difference between those two. So in case if you've got a question where you need to calculate the gradient and the midpoint, small letter that. So this is the formula, change in y over change in x. What does change mean? It means y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. What are the coordinates? Is P. What about P? We know P has got these coordinates. And again, Q. What about Q? Q, that's where we've got 6 and 3. So let's substitute. We know which one's our second value. So there we've got our y2 being that minus that being 0 over that being 6 minus x1 being 1. And this is equals to is positive 3 over 5. I hope all of you guys are getting the same answer. So just in case if you're getting a different answer, make sure to make us aware so that we do everything correct. So you are most likely, guys, to get a 1. This is allocated 2 marks. 1 mark for correct substitution, 1 mark for final answer. So I hope that makes sense to everyone. So in physical sciences, they normally give a mark for correct formula, but in mathematics, only for correct substitution and correct final answer. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So I feel like writing that information down to say, let's see, they say the gradient of that. So let's say small letter m is equals to 3 over 5. So is there someone who can guess? Maybe let me not get to that stage because it might confuse you guys. But I wanted to say, since we know these two lines are perpendicular to each other, what is the gradient of that line? But it's fine. I will show you for the purpose of having everyone on the same page. Then on our upcoming lessons, I will then pose it as a question. So guys, happiness over there.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, in that case, let's then move to question 2.1.3. So let's check. Calculate or determine the coordinates of t. Okay, let's just bring that drawing of ours. Firstly, you need to ask yourself, where is t? There is t. What is the cream of the question? The cream of the question is the coordinates. What are the coordinates? The coordinates is something represented by x and y. The coordinates of what? The coordinates of t. So that means your final answer must be a point which is t, which has got certain coordinates being x value and a y value. So they said t is the midpoint of PQ. So that means you can use the midpoint formula for PQ, knowingly that that's a point for t. So we know that the midpoint formula says x2 plus x1 divided by 2. Then we've got y2 plus y1 divided by 2. So guys, in every calculations, especially in mathematics where you have to substitute, the reason why you're getting wrong answers is because of wrong substitution. So I always say at all times, when you substitute a negative value, make sure to put it in brackets. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. So now let's substitute. But in this case, luckily, we've got positive values. So P again is that, and Q, what are we having over there? For Q is 6 and 3. So remember, guys, this is just introduction to this chapter. So this is like an easy mode. As we go deep, we'll be on moderate mode. Towards the end of this chapter, I'll take you through the maximum mode, which is the most difficult part, of which you will be exposed to all the necessary questions that you need to be aware of. I'm telling you guys, by the end of this chapter, when you do it in class, for those of you who haven't started it, you will be having a better understanding when your teacher teach this stuff. And just make sure not to disturb everyone in class by pretending like you already know. Just keep quiet and relax wherever you are sitting in class, and just smile when your teacher mentions something that the other learners do not understand. Don't be too quick to say, I understand, this thing is easy, whatever. Just quietly smile, ladies and gentlemen. And remember, guys, in mathematics, when there's something funny, we do not waste our time laughing for longer. You just say, ha, then you are done. Then you focus on the business of the day. So just in case if a joke is being made, do not spend much of your time laughing, ladies and gentlemen. You just say ha, some would say ahi, then you're done. Then it means we focus on the business of the day. Guys, this chapter is very, very interesting. And I just want to make sure that you guys are exposed to all type of questions and you maximize on this question. It's not that much difficult. Look at how easy this thing is, guys. We know very well that these are our second values, these are our first values. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. What is our x2? We know it's 6. So let's just put 6 there and say, what is x1? We know it's 1. This is being divided by 2. Why being divided by 2? Is because I said for everything that you divide by 2, it means you are actually cutting it into half. I'll just give an example, guys. Let's say we've got a square over there. This is a slice of bread, ladies and gentlemen, or it's just a square. So if you cut it into half, this is how it looks like. So you've got this side of that square. So remember, guys, the area for a square is length multiplied by breadth. So the moment you cut it into half, that is why it looks like a triangle, and also this looks like a triangle. So because you've cut it into half, that is why you divide it by 2. And that is the reason why we say an area of a triangle is equals to half length times breadth. In other words, this thing mathematically is the same as length times breadth divided by 2. So I just wanted to make you aware that everything that you divide by 2, it means you are actually cutting it into half. So why are we cutting this into half? It's because we've got that length where we've got P, where we've got Q over there. And they say that point T is actually a point which is in the middle of these 2 points. So remember, the word mid, it's a shortcut for middle. So when they say T is the midpoint, they are simply saying T is the middle point of P and Q. So it's right in the middle. So in the middle, that's where you have to cut that point and that point into equal halves. And to cut it into equal halves, that's when you divide by 2. Guys, a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. So these things are easy, guys. Let's see. What is our y2? We know very well that our y2 is 3. Plus, what is our y? We know very well, guys, our y1 is 1. Then we divide it by 2. Therefore, middle point of PQ is equals to, what is that? This is 7 over 2, guys. That is 7 over 2. What is this? This is 3 over 2. So that means point T is actually 7 over 2 and 3 over 2. Just leave it as a fraction. Guys, did you all understand what I've done over there?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Okay, this question was allocated 2 marks, which means let's see, if it is allocated 2 marks, you are most likely to get 1 mark for correct substitution. And again, it's either they give you a mark there or there, but that's where you score your second mark. Very, very much important, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, this is just a warm-up, guys. So I'll just check in case if we still have some time. What we'll do is just to discuss the next question, not really answering every question, but just discussing so that you give it a try alone based on our discussion. So let's now proceed. So the next question says, calculate the area. This is now 2.2. Be careful, guys. Follow the numbering system used in the question paper. So we are now on question 2, where we are looking at question 2.2.1, which says, calculate the area of triangle QTR. So the area of triangle QTR. This is exactly what they want you to calculate. I hope at this point in time, everyone knows very well what is an area. So an area has got the units. What are the units for an area? Is units squared. So in case if the lengths were millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, it was going to be those squared. Otherwise, if it's not given, then it means it's units squared. So which area is Mr. Examiner talking about? They are talking about area of QTR. Where is Q? There is Q, guys. Where is T? There is T, guys. Where is R? There is R. Guys, you now need to redraw that triangle so that it makes perfect sense. Remember, that line, it can extend, or maybe let me say that line, it used to extend like that. But in this case, we are only talking about point T, Q, and R. So just in case, if you get to a situation where you don't know the starting point, guys, the cream of the question is going to guide you in terms of where to start. Let's say this thing, it's a little bit confusing. But now, because the question said the area of triangle, the first thing that you must do, just write the formula for the area of a triangle. So I'm going to say the area of a triangle, it's equals to half length times breadth. So that means you can rewrite this formula making use of those letters used. So that means it's the same as half multiplied by, let's say, a TQ multiplied by QR. So the reason for this is just so that you try to check on that diagram if you can find the distance or the length for that, and again, if you can find for that. Here comes the question, guys. Do we know what is the length of QR?
Yes, we do.
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Is equals to the length of PQ,
Which is what?
which is
Root
square root
for
of 34.
Which is the square root of 34. 100%. So now, let's see if we can just substitute in the meantime. Multiplied by, it's either you say QT or TQ. Just make sure that between these two, you find a letter that comes first. And I think it's Q because even there they said QTR. So to mathematically represent that correctly, let's just say a QT. So you guys are saying QR is equals to the root of 34. But now, do we know anything about QT, or do you think we can find something about QT?
Yes.
What is it?
So can I please ask a question?
Yebo.
How about we divide distance by 2 so that we can find TQ? Or we find the distance of TQ.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you hear that? So she's saying, how about we divide the distance or the length of PQ by 2? Madam Speaker, can you tell us the reason for doing that?
Okay, because I don't know how to explain this, but our PQ is divided into 2 equal parts by our midpoint.
100%. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know that T is the middle point. So that means if PQ was 4 and they said T is the middle point, so that means this side and this side are equal. So that means if from P to Q was 4, you divide it by 2, that means this is 2 and this is 2. I hope that makes perfect sense. So in short, guys, that means PT is actually equals to the root of 34 over 2. And again, that is equals to the root of 34 over 2. Madam Speaker, do you agree with me? Is this what you're saying? So that means if that is the case, then remember, Madam Speaker, in case if you want to make a comment, don't forget to unmute your mic. So this is 1 over 2 into square root of 34 over 2 into square root of 34. Then you can punch the whole of that to get your answer, which is an area. And remember, it should be units squared or square units. Square units. So what is the answer, guys?
17 over 2 units squared, sir.
What is it?
17 over 2 units squared, sir.
17
Over
over 2.
2.
And what is it in a form of a decimal?
8,5, sir.
So you're saying it's 8,5 square units. Is this correct to, if there's no other decimal, is it just 8,5?
Yes, it's just 8,50, sir.
Okay, 100%. So remember, guys, in case if you had too many decimals, round it correct to 2 decimal places, unless specified to say round it to 1, 3, or whatever. So in case if they do not specify, round it to 2. So they will give you, I think this question was allocated 3 marks. Let me just get another marker there. This question was allocated 3 marks. And most importantly, guys, this is going to be given a mark. And for you to also notice that you divide it by 2, they give you a mark. And again, either this or that, they are going to give you a mark. So that's how you score yourself 3 marks. Guys, did that make sense to everyone? Are you happy with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, 100%. So let me just remove all of these, and then from there move to the next question. So I just want to make sure that we try to cover most of this information. So let's see, what did we do? We covered that, we covered this, we covered this. We haven't really covered that, and also those, but it's fine. Let's see what happens as we proceed. So let's have a look at the next question, which says the size of angle theta with reasons. So where's angle theta, guys? There is angle theta. So that is exactly what the question wants us to find. So I'm not really sure if you guys are at a stage where you can suggest how we find that angle over there. So this is where examiner wants to be tricky now, because already they notice that you are able to calculate the distance, gradient, and midpoint. So now this is where the tricky part starts. So now everything
Sir,
looks a bit
sir,
congested.
can I please ask a
Now,
question?
yibu.
Okay, I want to ask Ne, in order to find
Mhm.
theta, how
Yeah.
about I use that rule that say exterior angle of a triangle is equals to sum of opposite interior, where I'm going to say 90 plus theta is equals to 121. When then I'm going to say theta is equals to 121 minus 90.
Guys, I'm already feeling some distinctions here. Let me just say 2.2.2. I think that's where we are. Madam Speaker, what are you saying? Can you give me that formula?
Okay, what I was saying is that I'm going to say 90 plus theta plus theta is equals to 121.
Is equals to 121 degrees.
Then my reason is exterior angle of your exterior angle in a triangle is equals to sum of opposite interior.
Exterior angles
Angle of a triangle
of a triangle. Exterior angles of a triangle
is equals to sum of opposite interior.
is equals to sum of opposite interior angles.
Then I'm going to say theta equals to 121 minus 90.
which is
31 degree.
31 degrees.
Degree.
Guys,
Yes.
did you all hear that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Madam Speaker, would you say for me to understand this, that's when I'm good with Euclidean geometry? Would you say that?
What did you say, sir?
So I'm saying for someone who doesn't understand, would you say for them to understand is because they must first have a better understanding of Euclidean geometry?
Yeah. That's correct. It's from Euclidean.
Guys, yeah. Did you hear that? So
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
that is how you score yourself 2 marks for the answer and again for the reason. So in short, guys, I'm not expecting all of you guys to fully understand that part. But for now, let's make an agreement to say I will need some time to prepare for Euclidean geometry. So I'm going to start it such that I do a masterclass and just make sure that for all of you guys who have got a better understanding of that chapter, you also form part of the lesson so that we can assist each other. So for those of you guys who want to, look at exactly what we're talking about over there, can you see we've got that 121 degree angle over there. So this is an exterior it's an exterior angle. So this is the theta, which is an interior angle. So according to this reason, she's saying external angles of a triangle are equals to the sum of opposite interior angles. So in short, that is basically the angle that we are trying to calculate over there. So I'm just not sure if we can make that conclusion to say, let's wait until we do that chapter of Euclidean geometry. Then from there, we can easily provide reasons and easily solve for this type of questions. But again, before I move to the next question, what I like about this chapter is that you've got multiple ways which you can apply to solve this type of problems. I'm just not sure if we've got another way, guys, in which we can solve for this problem. Do you guys think there's another way in which we can approach this problem? Is there someone who wants to guess in case if you noticed something?
Yes, sir. My name
Yes.
is
How?
Zanda.
Your name is?
Zanda.
Okay, Zanda.
I said 180 degrees minus the 121 degrees, which is angles on a straight line. My reason,
Mm-hmm.
so that I got 59 degrees. And then I took theta plus 90 plus 59 degrees will give me 180 degrees. Angle sum triangle. That's my reason. And then I took the numbers to the other side, subtracted 180 minus 90 minus 59, which gave me theta is equal to 31 degrees.
Zanda, thanks very much for that. So let's quickly try to check what Zanda is saying over there. So remember, guys, this is that angle theta, and we know very well that this is that. So maybe let me just extend all of that. Remember, this is a horizontal line. Then we've got that angle being 121 degrees. So that means we still have, let's say, that angle there, of which we can maybe refer to it as angle beta. So what Zanda is saying is if we have maybe a, a horizontal line and we know that angle, then if we know this angle, we can easily know that angle because what is it? What are you saying, Zander? So you're saying actually this is a straight line which is 180 degrees, which is equals to that angle plus that angle. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
So, guys, that means the moment we know the value for that angle, then we know again that the sum of the interior angles of a triangle are still equals to 180. So that means Zander would say 180 degrees will be equals to that angle theta plus that angle we know is 90 degrees plus that angle. So what is that angle, guys? Let me just quickly check so that we put it in a form of a value to be 121. What is it, guys? Minus 180. Then we've got 59. Let me see. So that means that angle there is 59 degrees. I'm not sure, Zander, if what I'm doing is exactly what you say, but just correct me if I'm wrong. So that means we say plus 59 over there, then we solve for that angle, which means it's 180 minus this minus that. Therefore, angle theta is going to be 180 minus 59 minus 90, which is 31 degrees. And again, is the same angle as that. So, guys, did that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So we don't have
I
any
have a
questions.
question. I have a
Okay.
question. They say that the base angle of a triangle are equal, ne? So
Wait. Before, can you repeat that part?
they say that the base angle of a triangle are equal.
Okay, continue.
So I want to ask the question, where do we apply that rule?
Okay, you can now mute your mic in the meantime. I'll just maybe, Zander, let us have a conversation while our class is listening. So maybe let me just remove all of this, just so that we educate each other. So, Zander, we have that. Maybe let's say we have that. So that first statement where Madam Speaker said the basis of whatever are equal, is it correctly to make that statement first and first?
No, sir.
How do we correctly say it?
Because the angles are only equal at the bases if the triangle is isosceles and we have a right angled triangle here.
Okay. Thanks for that response, Zander. So maybe let me explain to Madam Speaker in addition to what you've said. You say, in this case, remember, we've got a horizontal straight line called the x-axis. So only if you have a right-angled triangle and they say this is 90-degree angle, then you know that also that is 90-degree angle. But on a straight line, if you have another line which is at a certain angle, you can see that this angle cannot be the same, for example, with that angle. This angle is bigger and this angle is less. So make reference to that vertical line by saying, for all the lines which lies on this side, they are acute angles, which means they are angles which are less than 90 degrees. So for all the lines which lies in these directions, they are obtuse angles, which is an angle between 180 and 90. So that means if you have that line, it has a different angle from that line. And again, if you have that one, it's different. So you just need to be aware that what information do you have, and again, what information are they asking about. Then the moment you realize all of that, try to redraw that triangle and try to strategize. Did we try to respond to you to an extent that you can say you have an idea of what we were trying to say? Whoever asked that good question.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
100%. So, guys, let's move to question 2.2.3. A very interesting question, guys. 2.2.3. And before we start with this question, Zanda, are you attending my lessons for the very first time?
No.
Mula, who's this one? Mula, Mula what? Mula.
Mulauzi.
Mula Uzi. What do you mean? Ngange?
Ndione ndikuzisaone.
Nindovuwa. Chote zuti mbrazwabuti. Are you attending my lesson for the first time?
No, it's not the first time.
Oh, it's not okay. So, guys, the reason why I'm asking is because in this class we've got grade 10s, we've got grade 11s, we've got grade 12s. We also have those who are upgrading their mathematics. And guys, luckily, we do have some of your parents. They do attend these lessons to see exactly what we're doing. And again, we also have some teachers who are also interested in watching my lessons. So just make sure that everything that you say, you share all that you can of which you learned from your school. And most importantly, the reason why I'm saying all of this, guys, is because some of you in your schools, you've already done this chapter. Some of you haven't done it. So just make sure that if you have done it, you can, from time to time engage with me so that we learn. Again, for those of you who haven't done this chapter, just make sure that you write down all the notes necessary for you to be able to understand when your teacher will be teaching in class. So that is the advantage of this class. That is the reason why I like this master classes, because we are able to learn from each other. And again, most of you guys, you've got a very good knowledge. So I'll give an example, guys. Something that I've learned in this lesson is this thing. I think is LB. I'm just not sure if LB has attended this lesson because I'm not able to see who's in class. That's why I'm saying mention your name. LB said
Yes, I'm
something.
here.
Are you? It's LB. What did you say about that cos? What is it? Cosec, sec, cos, and whatever. What did you say?
You can look at the third letter to find
So
out
what do I
the
write
trig
first?
ratios.
Okay, so LB
Okay.
said when you have cosec, when you have sec, when you have a cot. So all of these are what we call the reciprocals. I'm just reciprocals. Guys, you know the spelling. These are what we call the reciprocals. What I've learned is that if you want to know the trig ratio, you know the trig ratio of these things is those three. But some of you guys, you still confuse these things. So there's some stuff that we call mnemonic. It's just a way of cramming these things. So it's just a way of easily noticing these things. So LB said their teacher taught them that for you to know, you just look at the third letter. So let's look at the third letter. In this case, 1, 2, 3, we have S. Then that S stands for sine. Then we have 1, 2, 3. That third letter stands for what? It therefore stands for cos. That third letter there, 1, 2, 3, it stands for tan. So that is how in LB school they are able to notice which reciprocal is for which trig ratio. So that is the reason why, guys, I'm saying it's not only you who are learning in these lessons. I'm also learning myself. So I become better every day and each and every time when I conduct this lesson. So every time when I say a day without learning something new, it's a day wasted. Just make sure that silently you are also saying the same thing, because it is important that at all times we learn new things. So guys, 2.2.3, the question says calculate the coordinates of S. Good people, where is S? That's the first thing that you need to ask yourself. There is S. Shreyas, you remember, we have done functions. We focused on straight line, parabola, hyperbola. We haven't done exponential, of which is something that we'll look at. So guys, when I do a lesson which is dedicated to grade 10s only, I'm going to mention in the group to say we'll be having a lesson, but only grade 10s and grade 11s are invited. That's how you know if the lesson will be for which grade. So there we've got what we call point S, of which they want you to calculate the coordinates. So before we even perform any calculations, guys, can we just try to have a look at that point S and think of how we can possibly find the coordinates of S? Anyone who's got a suggestion?
Okay, sir, can I please ask ne?
Mm-hmm.
How about how about we find the equation of RQ, then we
Mm-hmm.
equate I don't know. Then we equate the equations of PQ and RQ.
Of PQ and RQ. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, there is P, there is Q, there is R, there is Q. So when we equate those two, you know what's going to happen? It's going to give us the coordinates at the intersection, which is the coordinates of Q. But you were getting closer, Molaus. You were getting closer in you were getting closer. So anyone else to also give it a try? Thanks for that suggestion. Anyone else?
Yes, sir. Say I think we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna use the midpoint theorem because we've got the point which is S between QR, sir.
We've got a point which is S, which is QR, but there's something dangerous about that, you know. I'm just not sure. Although you might be right, but give me a reason for us to use the midpoint formula, because in the statement they did not say S is the midpoint of QR, isn't it? So you must be having a reason why you would use a midpoint formula. Madam Speaker, but give me a reason for that.
Okay, so I have a question again. I have a question
Mm-hmm.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I saw that our at X, I'm not sure about it. I think Y is 0. I'm not sure. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
then how about we use the straight line of
Mm-hmm.
RQ, then we substitute because I think our Y is 0 over there.
Bomolauzi bakhamba zone bakhoziva
Sir, yes, sir.
bakhamba zone. So ladies and gentlemen, in short, what Bomolauzi is saying over there is that always, Shreyas, when you have 2 points, always you can determine an equation of that line between 2 points. So in short, you determine an equation for that straight line. Then already you know that at that point S, you know very well that X is unknown, but Y is 0. So you therefore substitute 0 on that straight line equation, then you solve for X. Is going to give you the X value at point S. Before we perform any calculations, just make sure that if you don't understand, you ask a question. Otherwise, if you are not sure, you will see when we perform the calculations. And again, ladies and gentlemen, let me also suggest a possible solution to this question. Here comes the question, guys. Do you guys think we can be able to calculate the distance between P and S, making use of all the other information that we have?
Yes,
Lerato, go for it.
I think so. We'll use theorem of Pythagoras.
Why?
Since PS is opposite to the right angle, to the 90-degree angle.
Wait, Lerato, since what? Oh, you're saying since PS is opposite to that, but now, if you use theorem of Pythagoras, what is the length of QS?
Oh, sorry, sir. I did not notice.
Okay, can you see? That's why I asked that first madam speaker to say, when you say we apply the midpoint formula there, what could be the reason to that? And she's 100% correct. It's only that maybe she doesn't have the reason to that. But you are correct. I also don't have the reason to that. So that means possibly we can have three ways in which we can solve for this problem. So I'm just going to show you what I mean, guys. Let me just check. I hope you are able to see over there, but this is what I mean. Remember, we have that, which is P over there, and we have Q over there, and we also have that. So we know this is 90-degree angle. We know, good people, this is square root of 34. We know that angle. Or otherwise, we know that angle. So, guys, can you say we can possibly calculate that length based on that information? Okay, let me do this and write that angle. Guys, what did we say that angle is? Let's see, there we've got P, we've got Q, we have got S over there. Guys, what did we say that angle is? 180 minus 121. What was it? Was it the 280?
It was 59, sir.
It was, yes, this was 59. This was 59 degrees. So what I'm saying, guys, is can we not use those trig ratios to find that length? So what trig ratio can be used to find that length? Is it not sine? Let's see. Sine of 59 degrees, is it not equals to opposite being PQ over hypotenuse being a PS? So that means sine 59 degrees is equals to, what is that? This is square root of 34. What is that? That's exactly what we are trying to calculate. So you are going to cross multiply. That means you have PS sine 59 degrees is equals to square root of 34. Then you want to remove that so that it cancels and you remain with PS, which is equals to square root of 34 over sine 59. So that is going to give me the length of PS. Not that is the answer, but I'm going to explain what the answer is. So square root of 34 over sine 59. I'm getting 6,80 units. So that means, guys, zwi kwamba uri that the length from P to S is equals to 6.80. But now, remember, from the origin to there, it's 1. So that means it's 1 plus that length is going to give us the x value there. So that means 1 plus 6.8 is going to be 7.8. So I'm just suggesting this as a second possible way to determine the coordinates of S, as opposed to using a straight line, of which if you use a straight line, still you will be 100% correct. So I'm not sure if that made sense to everyone, guys. Did it make
Sir,
sense?
I did not make sense to me there.
Who's speaking?
Vanda, sir.
Oh, Xander. Okay. Let me explain again. But is there someone who's also lost, or did it make sense to everyone? The others.
Sir.
Sorry?
No, sir.
Lost, sir.
Oh, okay. Okay, it's fine. Let me try to do something and say, if you have a Cartesian plane, and again, let's say maybe you have a right angled triangle there. So this is a trick that you should be aware of, guys. I wanted to do this one because it's not an easy one. So let's say we have A, we have B over there, and we have C, and they say this angle there is 30 degrees, and they give you the coordinates there to say this is, let's say, 4 and 4. So here comes the question, guys. With this info, and they say maybe determine the coordinates of C. I'll just give you an example, guys. If you have something similar to that, when you calculate the length of AC, how can you calculate the length of AC using that triangle? Do you think you can apply the trig ratios?
Yes, sir.
Which trig ratio can you use to determine the length of AC, Mr. Kevin?
So how about we use Pythagoras Theorem first?
Let me see. Continue. What if we use Pythagorean, theorem of
Because
Pythagoras?
we have two coordinates. We have two, 4 and 4. Then, yeah.
So remember, if we use theorem of Pythagoras, let's see.
Okay, so before you proceed, can I please ask,
Mm.
is it that coordinate of B is an included angle? Is it an included angle?
No, remember, let me do this and extend it that line. Remember, this coordinates, it simply means there it's 4, and here it's 4. That is what B says. Or maybe let me just explain this one, guys, and you will let me know if it makes sense. So if you have something similar to this, you need to be smart to understand that you have a right angled triangle. If you have a right angled triangle, it means you can use the trig ratio. So what is that length? This length, for example, is what is it? Is 4. And again, this 4 is just from there to there. And this 4 is just from there to there. That's all that you know. And again, you know that the angle there is 30 degrees. So the question is, can you not use this triangle to find that length? Remember, there is B, there is A, there is C. So can you not use sine, guys, to find AC? Is it not possible to use sine to find AC? Because you know AC is the opposite. Is it even sine or tan? What is it? Which one is it? Seems to be tan. Because you have adjacent, you have opposite, and you have angle. So remember, guys, this is analytical geometry, but when you have a right-angled triangle, you apply those trig ratios. So that means tan of 30-degree angle is going to be opposite over adjacent. In this case, what is opposite? Opposite is AC over adjacent is 4. So that means this is equals to tan 30 degrees. So that means 4 tan 30 degrees is equals to AC. Then what is AC, guys? Let me punch all of that. So AC is 4 tan 30, and this is equals to, as a decimal, is equals to 2,31. So that means this is a 2,31. Then from here to there is 4, guys. It's 4. Is that 4? Then it means from here to there is 4 plus 2,31. So that means this point there is actually 6,31. That means the coordinates of C is actually a 6,31 and 0. I'm not sure if it now makes sense, guys. Xander, do you have an idea of what I'm trying to explain there?
Yes, kind of.
To the other guys, are you now having some light, or is it still confusing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Remember, guys, I asked 2 questions to say, are you still are you having some light, or is
I
it
have
still
some light on
confusing?
it, sir.
Sorry, say again.
So I have some light on it.
Oh, okay. So I suppose all of you with that yes, you are confirming that you've got some light. So let me just quickly make the last explanation, maybe using a different scenario there. Let's say we have another straight line there, this being A and that being B, and they say from there to there is 2 units, and they give that to be, let's say this is -4. So remember, guys, this is a Cartesian plane. So that means we had -1, -2, -3, -4. So when we talk about the coordinates, we just need to know the x value. For example, the coordinates of A, we just need to know the x value there. So you have this length from there to there. Even though there is -4, but you know the distance there is 4, and they said AB, the length is 2 units. Then you connect. This is then 2 units. Then it means the total distance from there to there is actually equals to 6. But when we talk about the coordinates, you know the coordinates there, the x value is negative. Then that means the coordinates of A is going to be -6, and whatever y value that you have, which is a positive y value. So just think out of the box. So these are the types of questions which are normally being asked at university level. They are just not being obvious, but I see also with CAPS they ask such tricky questions. So you just need to be aware of how to approach this type of questions. Guys, I hope it now makes a bit of sense. Would you guys allow me to also try that one of a straight line? Quickly.
Yes, sir.
So let's just see if we're going to get the same answers. And again, for that one who said the midpoint theorem, you are right. I wish you could find the reason to that, but we'll try to explore the reason. Okay, so obviously, if you have what is it? If you have the two coordinates, I just want to make you guys aware of something. If you have the two coordinates, and remember, they said this line and that line are perpendicular to each other. And based on the information for today, I said for perpendicular lines, the gradient of the first line times the gradient of the second line is equals to -1. So that means the gradient of that line times the gradient of that line is equals to -1. So Vomolauzi, in case if you don't want to recalculate the gradient for those two, you can just say the gradient of PQ times the gradient of QR is equals to -1. So the gradient of PQ times the gradient of QR is equals to -1. So let's see. What is the gradient of PQ? Did we calculate it and do we know what it is?
3/5, sir.
100%. We said the gradient of PQ is equals to 3/5. I'm not sure if it's from the first question or what. Then you can say this is equals to -1. So that means the gradient of QR is equals to -1 divided by that. So I already know that it has to be negative. Then you write that at the top and that at the bottom. So it's -5/3. So that is the gradient of QR. Then it means you already know, Shreyas, that on your formula of y is equals to mx plus c, the gradient, you've already got it. Then you can say add, then you use 1 point between these two. And I said use a point that has got positive values because it's easy to work with. So that means I'll use point Q, which is 6 and 3. So let's see. Y there is 3, which is equals to, what is the gradient? Is that one there, which is -5/3. What is x? X is 6 there, plus c. But wait, I just want to confirm something. I think we are on the right track because we want to know what is, wait, I want to confirm something. We want to know what is c value. Then from there, we are going to substitute into the equation in order to find the value of c. I think that's what Mulauzi has suggested. So let me
Yes, sir.
proceed. Okay, so that means we have 3 minus the whole of that. So it's 3 minus into what is it? -5 over 3 open 6. Then I'm getting 13. So that means C is equals to 13. That means the equation is Y is equals to -5/3 plus 13. So this is what I'm getting. So at point S, we know that X is unknown, but Y is 0. So don't be lost, guys. So we said that gradient, the gradient of that line times the gradient of that line is equals to -1. We know the gradient of that line. We substituted, we got the gradient of that line. So now we know the gradient of that line. On the straight line formula, we use either that point or that point. So this is a point that has got positive values. It's easy to work with. We substituted, then we calculated for the C value. So that means that C value, remember, as we said, C value influence the vertical shape. So that means if we had to extend that line, it was going to cut the y-axis at point 13. So, but don't worry that much about that. In this case, what we are saying is at that point S, we know that it's along the x-axis, which means y is equals to 0. So that means we now need to solve for x. When we solve for x, we substitute 0, which is that 0 there, being equals to, let's see, -5/3x plus 13. plus 13. Then you transpose, you have negative 13, it's equals to negative 5 over 3x. Then your x value is going to be equals to, divide by that on both sides to see what x value are you getting. So that means I've got negative 13 divided by into negative 5 over 3 is equals to, I'm getting 7,8. I'm not sure if you guys are also getting the same answer. So based on that first method, did we say the x value for s is 7,8? Did we get that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Murauzi, Botakara,
Amanda was say
100%. So
100%.
who was that? Who was that lady who mentioned something about the midpoint theorem? Can who was it?
It was Baso, sir.
Okay, Basa, let's try something.
Baso say.
Oh yes, Baso. Let's try some. I think you have a point there. Let's just try. It seems like if, for example, we have maybe a line and another line there, and again, if this is 90 degrees, let's see. If they say this is equals to that, does it mean this angle is equals to that angle? Is that true what I'm saying there?
So yeah, is what I was asking, that the base angles of isosceles triangle are equal.
Oh yes, now it makes sense. Now it makes sense. But that angle there, what did we say that angle is? I think we said it's 59 degrees. So if it's 59 degrees, what about that one? Did we not say it's 31 degrees? So can you see, if it's 31, then they are not the same. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
So I think
Sorry, sir. That
mhm.
angle is in 59. Can you please show us the previous angle that you wrote? Like that triangle that you wrote. Can you please show it to us now so that I can explain?
Oh, this one. You're talking about this one.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. We didn't calculate the angle that we are saying that it is equal to angle P, sir. The angle that is
Uh,
59 is angle S.
yes, this is angle.
Angle,
This is
yes,
59.
yes,
But
sir. Angle
this
P is
one. Uh-huh.
angle P, say, is equal to angle R. Angles opposite equal sides, say.
Oh, you're saying,
Yes.
but wait. Remember, every time when you mention an angle, you should also mention the triangle, because we have triangle PQR and we also have triangle PTR.
I'm talking about triangle PQR, say.
PQR, yes. In triangle
Yes.
PQR, you are saying that angle theta there is equals to this angle there.
Yes, say.
Okay, it's fine. But now in this case, the question is, would that information help us to get the coordinates of S?
Yes, it would, say. Because we said that the distance between PQ is equal to the distance between QR, say, meaning that S is the midpoint of QR.
QR, okay, 100%. So That means if we use the formula for the midpoint, we should also get 7.8, isn't it? So are you saying x is equals to x of q plus x of what? X of r plus, no, I want to write x of r there as equals, divided by 2. What is that? X of that. So let's see. The x value for q is 6 plus the x value for r is 9 divided by 2. Then what is that when you guys punch it on a calculator?
15/2, sir.
What is 15/2?
7.5, sir.
So it gives 7.5. So, Bazo, were you trying to, when you were explaining, were you saying this is how we would perform the calculation, or is there a different way you wanted to indicate that we can do the calculation?
No, sir, I didn't have any other ways. I thought of this way also, sir.
Oh, okay. So that means possibly as it's not necessarily the midpoint of it's not necessarily the midpoint of QR, but possibly I'm just not really sure of how that midpoint theorem could be used, or otherwise it could be that it's not applicable to this question. And the reason to that is because as it's not necessarily the midpoint of that, but based on your reason, I think you do have a point there. It might be that we are not applying it correctly, but I'll try to find out. Then on our next lesson we'll discuss it. So I think for now we can move to the last question, which is let's see, question 2.3. So that means for now, let's say we've got 3 possible ways in which we can calculate or determine the coordinates of S, of which the first one is to use the trig ratios, second one is to use straight line equation, and third one is the midpoint formula. So we'll just do a research on the midpoint formula. So here the last question says determine with reasons the gradient of the line through T and the midpoint of PR. Determine with reasons the gradient of the line through T. Where is T? There is T, and again, and the midpoint of PR. Where is PR? There is PR. So the midpoint of PR, we can maybe say it's somewhere there. And what the question says is find with reasons the gradient of that straight line. I'm not sure, guys, if there's something, if there's someone who wants to give it a try and suggest how we can possibly deal with that question. Anyone? Remember, guys, in case if you've got no idea, you can just make sure to indicate.
Please repeat the questions.
So the question says, determine with reasons the gradient of the line through T. So the gradient of the line that passes through T, and again the midpoint of PR. So that means this line is actually passing through the midpoint of PQ and again the midpoint of PR. So it is the gradient that they want.
Well, say, let me give it a try. I'm not so sure, Sally,
Mhm.
but I think we're gonna introduce maybe a letter for this midpoint. Then we actually look for the midpoint. Then after it look for the midpoint, we use that coordinate with that
Mhm.
point we actually introduced. Then we also use the points of t to
Mhm.
calculate the gradient.
100%. So that is the easiest possible way of answering this question. So I will just leave it to you guys to do it as your homework. So in short, what she's saying is correct. We know that point, and we know this point. Let's call it maybe a point Z. So we know this point Z is the midpoint between that and that. You can use the midpoint formula to calculate the coordinates of Z. Once you are done, we already calculated the coordinates of T. If we haven't, you can still use the midpoint formula to determine the coordinates of T. Once you are done, you therefore use you therefore use the formula for determining the gradient. Then you're going to have the gradient of T Z. So alternatively, let's see. I think, guys, if we have, let's say, that line, and again, if we have another equal line, then let's maybe join those two. Let's say maybe this is A, this is B, and this is C. So if this is the midpoint, guys, and again, if this is the midpoint, do you guys not agree that this line, which is actually at the midpoint, and the midpoint is actually perpendicular to that line, is it not forming a 90-degree angle there? Do we not have a rule which says something similar to that in mathematics?
Can you repeat the question, sir?
So I actually wanted to ask to say, if we have AB being a line and we have BC, and these two lines are equal. So if we join that midpoint with that midpoint, these two lines, are they not parallel? And again, if they are parallel, do you agree that it therefore forms 90-degree angle there?
Yes, sir.
Is there someone who's aware about a rule or something similar to that? Okay, so this is it, guys. This is what we call the midpoint theorem. So the midpoint theorem applies in this case, guys, where we say we've got a triangle similar to that. So if this is the midpoint of one side and this is the midpoint of the hypotenuse, when you join the midpoints, it means this line is parallel to that line. Therefore, you've got a 90-degree angle over there. So that is what I'm saying, guys. So that possibly means if maybe we've got again a center there and we join those, it possibly means what is it? This line is parallel to that line. So we also have a 90-degree angle there, just like we had a 90-degree angle there. I'm not sure if you guys understand what I'm trying to say over there.
Yes, sir, we do understand.
So
Yes, sir.
that means, guys, let me try to redraw all of that. So Who was it? That lady who mentioned the theorem? I mean the midpoint theorem. I don't think in that previous question it applies for the fact that they did not mention that S it's actually the midpoint of those, but it's just a point which is closer to the midpoint. So in this case, this is where we can use the midpoint theorem. So let's see. We know that do we not know the gradient of that line? We do. If we do know the gradient of that line, remember this is P, this is Q, this is R. Then we assumed this to be Z. And if that forms a 90-degree angle there, that means let me see. We do know the gradient of that one, guys. So otherwise, what is the gradient of that line? Did we calculate it?
Gradient was root 34.
Sorry, say again.
The gradient was root 34.
Wait.
No, sir. I meant it was 3/5, say the gradient.
So but wait, the gradient of this line, what was it?
Gradient. It was 3/5, say.
-5/3. So.
No. We are not on the same page. I remember very well that the gradient of this line was 3/5. But for this one, because it's perpendicular to that, was it not -5/3? Can someone just confirm for me? Am I correct with that one?
Yes, sir.
This is correct, Lerato, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so according to what I explained, I said this line, it is parallel to that line. Why? Because of the midpoint theorem. So that means the gradient of this, which we can refer to it as TZ, is also equals to the gradient of QR. Why? Midpoint theorem. So that means the gradient of TZ is also equals to -5/3. Does it make sense, guys?
Yes, sir. It does make sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so guys, this is how you score yourself 3 marks. So this question was allocated 3 marks. So good people, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson as much as I did. So guys, please do me a favor. Just make sure that you've subscribed to my YouTube channel, and if necessary, you can hit the bell notification so that when I upload this lesson, you'll be notified or you won't miss that lesson. So it helps, in that situation where I have to answer to everyone whether the lesson has been uploaded or not. So the lesson that I'm doing today, it won't be uploaded today or the following day because I've done some more lessons and I try to release one video per day. So guys, in summary, are you guys happy with today's lesson and did you understand all that was explained?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
guys, this brings us to the end of our lesson for today. And thanks very much for joining. Let me just check who's attending the lesson. Lerato, Zandile, Reshapumo, Kitty, who's this one? Chaveling. Let me see. So, guys, just make sure that as soon as you exit, you raise your hand in the group to show that you attended until the end of the lesson. It helps, guys. Someday you will need that input from my side or a suggestion. So, in case if I'm able to see from the group that you've been attending my lessons, if I'm doing well, whatever that I'm doing and I'm not that much busy, then I can quickly help you. But if you don't attend my lessons, or otherwise you do but you don't raise your hand, I won't know if I'm responding to someone who hasn't been attending my lessons, because everything that I explained in today's lesson, I won't help via inbox when you ask about it again. But if you have attended today's lesson, you can easily say it. We once did a lesson, we did a similar problem. This is what I've tried. Can you try to let me know where I made a mistake? Then I will just quickly check in the group if you once attended any of my lessons. Then I can easily help you, because you guys are many. So I'm not able to go through and see who's who, what we communicated and everything. So every time when you mention your name in these classes, I'm able to remember that in my class I've got Pumulauzi. Mulauzi, are you happy? LB, she confirmed. Bazo, did you understand? Trias, are we all on the same
Yes, sir.
page?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Andre,
Yes, sir.
Neile Lubisi, Bokatuchero, Bofese Sagangei, Orifemezi, Rautwanamo, Mpumi Selina, Minentle, are we good? Lucia, Tamara, Miss Matlaila, Sisi
Yes.
Pom, Bandezelo, Kitty, are we good that side? Zandil, Larat.
Yes, sir.
Okay, guys. Thanks very much for joining. My name is Desmond, and I'm out.
Thank you, sir.